Hello. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to draw a still life. And so for this demonstration, I selected 3 objects. And I apologize for the outside noise. There's nothing I can do about that. But anyway, so we have 3 objects here. We have a mug, a little jar, and this. This is a Snapple bottle. And I wanted to choose that to have something transparent. Because it adds an extra challenge and it really enhances the composition to have that. And so we are going to deal with this very observationally, because the kind of sketch that we're learning is the kind that you're going to need to use for an actual painting. And so we have our sheet here, and it is a little bit hard to see, but what we can see here is the anchor object that we're going to use is the jar, because that's the one that we can bounce off of. We can take the jar and we can estimate this distance, and then we can estimate that distance, and then really put together the whole. So we're going to start by responding observationally to the jar, and we're not going to think, oh, I'm drawing a jar. Like, all you need to do is respond. I'm going to have to draw it a little bit darker, I see. You just respond to the shape that you're seeing and make the marks. Always be looking at the model when you're making the marks, because if you don't do that, then you just start fiddling with the drawing, thinking about what it should look like, then it's not going to turn out looking realistic. It's when we start doing that that we lose it. It's not learning to draw, is learning how to see. It's learning how to forget your predispositions about what you think something should look like, and being enabled to actually see it as it is. So yeah, we can see how it's starting to take shape. And the size that you draw it is also very important. So I'm doing this a little bit too big for the purpose here, but that's alright. We'll get the gist. So we see these like shadowy spaces in here, and we're just responding to what essentially where they are in relationship to everything else, because the most important thing about this whole process is getting the distance and the relationship that each object has to the other correct. That's the most important aspect. And so if we don't have that right, then we lose the whole thing. And that is especially true for portraits, because if the eyes aren't in the right place, or they're not in right relationship to the rest of the face, then it won't turn out correct. So anyway, you can see how we have the jar about done. And my perspective is slightly different than the camera's, but there's no way to remedy that except for strapping the camera into my head, which I tried to do earlier and it didn't really work. So anyway, we see the jar that starts here, so we're going to start to work that in, and it comes in at the edge. You can't really see it from here. This is over here, but I'm slightly over, so the jar starts right here, and there's like a shadowy area over here, the mysterious kind of shapes that are happening. And so what you're doing when you're drawing it is you're just responding to them and estimating distances and saying, okay, well, this is only a little bit. And honestly, like, I'm explaining this process, but when you're doing it, you're not really thinking about it. You're just responding. You're just looking and saying, okay, this goes here, this goes here. And that is the nature of really good observational work. So, I mean, essentially what you want to be doing oh boy, is really just seeing where the highlights are, marking those out, seeing where the shadowy, mysterious areas are, marking those as well, and blocking it all in. So we can see now here, like, we have the beginning of the drawing mapped out. And obviously there's a lot more left to do, you know, laying down value, that kind of thing. But ultimately what you're seeing here is the process that it looks like to actually begin a still life drawing, or doing a sketch for a painting. Like, we're looking at these objects and just how they are in relationship to one another, and that is what we need to be receptive to.